What's up, everybody? Welcome back to, what is this, episode 64 or 117? I'm not sure. We're going to talk about that today. I see some of y'all joking around about this in the comments. John Saxon saying, been looking forward to 117 for a long time. So have we. We're going to talk about why we're making this change and just change in general. We're in the no-code world. We're in tech. We're in, a world that is constantly evolving. So we're going to talk about change, why you need to be flexible and adapt as we go. So anyway, before we get too far into this thing, let's F and grow. Okay, what's up, Joe?
Hey, welcome to 117.
117. It was a big jump.
Yeah, nice.
1, 2, skip a few, 99, 117. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's just real quick, let's say hi to some folks in the comments. What's up, John Saxon, number 1 here. Maria, hello. Rahuli, hey. Christopher Coleman's in the house. What's up, Daniel, Brosnio, Darren Sims, Lucas, what's up, Pixelita. Hello. I see some of our Finsweet pros in the audience here, just starting some accountability groups. So cool to see that kicking off. What's up, Robert and Dennis, Aida, hello, Dale Jensen, Veos, Felix, hello. Tony Seats in the house. Tanet's here. What's up, Scott Humphrey? Okay, let's get into this. Zach, what's up? John, hello. Tanner, Juan, what is up, everyone? So many people in the mesh. Michael Collins, hello. Penny. All right, what is good? Joe, what are you thinking today as we're getting into this episode?
Well, I'm thinking this is a big start to a change.
Mm-hmm.
Change in how we're doing a lot of things with our live streams. We want to do more live. We want to scale live. And I think this decision goes right with that forward thought.
Yeah.
So, I'm excited to explain this, to tell people what we're doing here and, how we're going to do more on live.
Great. Okay, so before we jump into all that, we got a couple announcements like we typically do. So let's jump into the screens here. Oh no, I'm giving away too much. Okay, we're going to talk about that in just 1 second. First things first, show and tell next Monday. We're doing this event. It was a total blast last month. If you missed it, Melissa Mendez joined us as a co-host for the event. As always, Colleen Brady and myself, we host this big show and tell once a month. We had tons of people in there sharing all sorts of things from syncing Airtable to Webflow to portfolio projects. At some point we were just dancing in there. It was super cool to just kind of go through and see all the different things people are building. And so if you're building something fun, if you've got a cool project, if you're looking for feedback, whatever the reason is, come share it with us. If you've built something new in Client First, if you're just learning interactions, if you've done a cool client project, if you've made an integration and somehow people can log in and they do a thing over here and that does another thing over here, we want to know about that stuff. So come share your wins with us and the cool things you're building in Webflow. We would love to share that with the world. We do stream these out. So we streamed it for the first time last month and we'll stream it again this time. And so those events have been evolving into a lot of fun. So you get 5 minutes to be on stage. Check it out. The links are in the description. If you want, you come over here and you RSVP. It explains everything you need to know. There's even more information if you want to get into the weeds about how the format works and everything. It's all in here. So anyway, those are in the descriptions. Check that out. Our titles What's up? Go ahead, Joe.
Before moving on, I'd love to add to that show and tell.
Yes.
You don't have to present in show and tell. You could just be there hanging out. I was there last time. It was definitely fun, and I just had it open on the side while I was working. And it was great energy, great projects, and just know you can go to hang out. You don't have to present something. So I'll be there. I hope to see everybody there. It was really a fun time.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I think this is a lot of, some people want to share, some people want to come and share feedback or just watch. This is cool for all of it. So hope to see a bunch of you there as well. So, okay. So Flowchella, they've officially changed the name. Last week, I think we talked about this as Webflow Fest. Now it's Flowchella 2K22 after a conversation on Twitter. That's a lot of fun. If you're not following Melissa Mendez and Keith Armstrong on Twitter, you're definitely missing out. They are the ones who are hosting this. There's going to be some some top-notch designers here. Joseph Berry, Nicola Miranda. If you haven't seen his personal portfolio, that was making the rounds on the internet. Obviously, we know Joseph Berry and Joe Moore. Those are two top talents in the Webflow world. So that's May 13th. On the 20th, Corey Moen, Grace Walker, and Yusuf are going to be doing the second panel. And so I'm not sure what's in store for them. I do know Melissa and I were talking about this yesterday to figure out how we can put a little bit of Finsweet fun on this, and maybe we're going to help with some of the production, and maybe we'll do this in Gather. I don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but keep an eye. This is going to be a cool event, and we're going to see if we can sprinkle a little Finsweet fun on that with them. So feel free to check that out and learn all about that over at eureka.com/the-webflow-fest. So, okay. Ty Hughey has been killing it with these clonables recently. So just recently, today or yesterday, I think, dropped this new little hot personal portfolio clonable. Lots of fun. I may actually steal some elements from this for my upcoming Rymar.com release. So thanks for that. If you're not following Tyler, you should definitely check him out. Lots of great clonables in here. This just goes on for days, and people have cloned a lot of his projects. So really cool, lots of valuable stuff. One of our Finsweet Pro account holders and was sharing this on Twitter. We thought we'd give him a little bit of love there. So, and I think that, finally, we're going to finish what we started last Thursday. So if you joined us Thursday last week, we talked about migrating away from Webflow client billing into Stripe. Tomorrow, Joe and Aaron are going to be looking at how you manage those clients in Airtable and how you can automate that process. So, Joe, any thoughts on that conversation or finishing that up with Aaron tomorrow?
Yes. Well, if you saw the stream last week, we really focused on the Stripe part of it and how to set something up in Stripe only. I'm excited for this because this turns us into a whole system. We're going to be looking at how to manage clients in Airtable, how to connect Stripe and Airtable, so you can really create exactly what you want. You can create whatever flow you want using Airtable on top of this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm excited for it. I know I'm going to learn because Aaron is such a pro at Airtable. I'll be there learning myself.
Yeah. Always good to get in deep into the weeds with Aaron. Okay, and one final tease, because we're going to tease this at the end of the show, and Joe teased us on Twitter. So who has had a problem creating this left sidebar table of contents that anchor scrolls through a CMS rich text block? So Sneak Peek, Joe, do you want to talk a little bit about that? We're gonna talk a little about change. We're gonna spend about the first half of the episode talking about why we're changing, change in general, et cetera, and then we're gonna jump into a little demo, some new features here for those of you who are paying attention and hanging with us, even when we don't have the most exciting topics for the week. Joe, any thoughts on that sneak peek?
Yes. Well, at the end of the stream here, I will walk through the implementation of this left sidebar table of contents concept. And if you've tried to do this in the past, it's a pain. Even if you have a solution and you've implemented it multiple times, whenever you get this spec from the client, you're like, oh, come on, really? I have to do this. So we've built it in attributes. We're going to just apply 2 different attributes, and that is going to create this whole table of contents inside for a rich text block. So yeah, stick around for the end of the show, and I will be demoing it for you. And also, this is going to go live for pros only. We're going to do a 1-month pre-release for pros. So if you're a pro, you'll now be able to log into the attributes docs and access this docs page. If you're not a pro, you have to wait a month to go and access that.
Nice. Okay, great. So that's it for announcements. We're going to get into the gist of the show today. Rahuli's asking, so did we invent time travel? Kind of. We will discuss why we jumped from episode 63 to 117 just here in a second. Omkar, what's up? Daniel, Brandon, Tencott in the house, giving a second round of hellos here. Grace Walker's in the house. What's up? Yeah, Colleen is saying, come out just for if it's work in progress. That's sometime it's fun too. I think what's been cool is we saw a show and tell of somebody who had carried forward on a project. And we got to see, step 1 and the next step. And so that might be fun too. So don't think you have to have the, the full thing finished. Zach, stop this. Pros before apprentices, I think is what you mean there. Edgar Antonia's table of contents and share buttons in CMS is a pain. Correct. We're going to show you how to fix it at the end of the show, so stay tuned. Adrian saying, I've had several content heavy clients that want that sidebar function. Great. Hopefully we can figure out how to do that. Okay, the light theme from Twitter just burned my eyes out. I know it's funny. There's certain things I like dark mode on and certain things I don't. Maybe I should give Twitter dark mode a try. Okay, so let's get back into this. Let's talk a little bit. We've got a couple disclaimers. You know, we always start out the show with disclaimers. So let's bring the disclaimers up. Disclaimer one, Joe, you want to get us started?
I do. That we're in a business of constant evolution. We're either going to grow or we're going to stay exactly the same and fade away. We need to update. We need to change. That's just how the web works. So we're working in the web. There's always updates in the web. If you're doing web stuff from 10 years ago, you're not doing web anymore. You're super outdated. And that same concept applies in business. So when we do something, we have to iterate on it and get better at it and get better at it.
Yes, correct. And to follow up on that, disclaimer number 2 is that you shouldn't be scared to experiment. We're not scared to experiment. You all have seen us do things. For instance, the Rymar, the late night lives, right? Jumped in, was going to try something. It totally didn't work out. I readjust the format under super tight timeline, so we're going to release that content in a different way. Hey, no harm, no foul, right? We had a little bit of fun while we experimented with the folks, and nobody gets hurt. So nothing's permanent on the internet. I encourage you all to experiment and to try and to play. This is one of the fun things about the medium we're playing with, right? You can experiment, you build something, you test it. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. So you experiment and you change it a little bit. And that iteration is really what allows you to grow fast in the world of tech. And I think that's something that we should all kind of embrace in the space. And a lot of times we spend our time focused on like, let's build this thing, super perfect, which we all like to do because we all like to put our best foot forward. But sometimes just getting something out there is better and then adjusting as you go. So as our audience prompt today, we'd like to know what you have changed recently, right? Is there something you've changed or adapted in your workflow, in the way you deal with clients, in the way you do your work, in the way you charge, in the way you land business or close deals or whatever it is, something you've changed as part of your workflow? We would like to know about that. Leave it in the comments. Something that maybe correlates to what we're talking about today that's gone on in your world. And like we usually do, we'll jump into the comments and dig deep into some of that. So Joe, any other thoughts before we get real into this here?
Well, I'm going to double encourage this chat conversation. If you've been here the last few weeks, the episodes have been really excellent, because everybody in the chat has been going very transparent, telling us exactly what's on their mind. We get to talk about it. We open up about it. And yeah, it just leads to a really powerful episode. So Go ahead and definitely start interacting here.
Yeah. Yep. And I'm seeing 70 of you in the live right now, and there's only 33 likes. So come on, let's get with it. Let's get YouTube to blow this up. Let's get our air horn today. Let's break 100 today. So Adrian's here saying, I'm ready to go back and upgrade for a little extra money. Yeah. So stay tuned again. We'll show off that little table of content sneak peek at the end of the show here. Tyler, what's up? Melissa is here. What's up, Gabe? Hello, hello, hello. Okay. Recently adopted client first and the Reloom library. All in on efficiency. Great. Awesome. Okay, Joe, let's jump in. A new way to count. Why are we doing this?
Well, we decided that we want to count the total amount of live streams rather than count individual segments. And one of the reasons is we are continuing to test and continuing to try new segments and try new things. So instead of having all of these different counts, count for this, count for this, count for this, count for this, now it's just under one umbrella, F and Live.
Yep.
And we want to count all of those together.
Nice.
So, Rymar, how did we come to this decision? How do we get here?
Well, so we started the growth and we're like, okay, we're going to number these because, that's what everybody does. You just number them sequentially. And then after the growth, we started thinking, hey, let's do like this other thing. And on Thursdays, we started doing critiques. And then we're like, hey, since this is going to be critique, let's start another numbering system here. They're not growth episodes, so we don't call them growth. They're going to be something totally different. And even from that moment, it was like not really sure that was the right decision, specifically because what we found ourselves having to do was create like a brand for the critique show. We had to create design assets and maybe a little landing page. And so we ended up actually not doing that because we had all done this for the growth show and we didn't want to have to do that for the critique show. So we were just like, hey, we'll just put a YouTube playlist together and we'll number these separately. Okay, cool. No big deal. So now we have growth 1 through whatever, and then critique is going 1 through whatever. And then later on, we're like, hey, let's pivot from this critique. Let's introduce Learn It Live. And then that started also at like one, whatever. And so now we have all these little mini series, all these little things going, all with their own number count. And it's like confusing. And then you look through our streams and it was hard to keep track. And so I'm like, on our run of shows, sometimes you see number 63 and then number 12 or number 8. And it was just really hard. And so we're like, as we're thinking about this, let's just number them all and let's categorize them. And so reason number 1 is we didn't like having those little mini series, so we're trying to just unify the numbering. Number 2 is all episodes now will fall under FN Live umbrella, and we'll add 1 tick to the total count for every stream that we do. So this means the number will grow faster, which is exciting for us, and it more accurately represents our total stream output. You know, we're tracking 63 or whatever, but we've been doing 2 a week for over a year. So really we're at like 117, and next will be 118. And so we thought that number more accurately represented what our total output had been. And so that's reason number 2. Joe, anything on 1 or 2 there that we missed?
No, let's keep going. Number 3 is that we are still going to categorize our shows, that everything will still be growth related on Tuesday. And Thursday, we're still experimenting on what we're going to, exactly what happens every Thursday. Sometimes it changes. And maybe we add Wednesday in the future. Maybe we add Monday. Maybe we add Friday. Episodes will be categorized, but it's just going to be FN Live as a count.
Correct.
So I think it's much more accurate as to how much we've done. Saying 64 streams, it's not really 64 streams. It's so much more than that. And yeah, it's a little bit of different content from Tuesday and Thursday, but it makes me feel the same. We have the same people showing up. We have a lot of the same topics that are used in both days. So it's not different enough to have these different counts.
Yeah, and along that same point, number 4 is it makes it easier for us to add new content and experiment with other stuff. So yeah, we have Tuesdays and Thursdays right now, but show and tell, we live stream that on Monday. And so do we have to start a whole new sequence of show and tells, or does that just become another live stream? Same thing with other stuff happening in the community. So number 4 makes it easier for us to experiment and add new content without having to come up with a whole new brand or come up with a whole new strategy or do anything, super unique there. And so as we go, this frees us up to experiment a little bit more and try new things. Which again, we think is a net positive for everything we're doing. Which brings us to number 5, which allows us, I think, historically to look back and track these chronologically. And then we can know, just based on the number count of the episode, kind of where it fell in the evolution of Finsweet and our live progression. So if we're on episode 1,000, we know we're way right from the beginning. But if we're episode, if we're obviously there's going to be a skip. And we haven't decided if we're going to go back and renumber the old ones, just because we think that's too much work and the payoff's probably not worth it. So there may be a little confusion here. That's why we wanted to have a little episode. And again, just spend some time talking about change. So those are the top 5 reasons. Be interested to know your thoughts, anything specific there that we missed, or Joe, anything else that you wanted to mention in there?
That's it for the explanation of why we're counting, of why we're changing the count. The most exciting part about this is the idea of the scalability side of it. I love the idea of us getting to 200, 300, 1,000 episodes. Mm-hmm. And maybe that happens when we're streaming 5 days a week. Maybe we get there with 2 days a week. But I see live as just a core part of our community offering all the way in the future. So yeah, this, it feels like a power move to be able to grow, to be able to scale, to be able to really do whatever we want moving forward instead of having these individualized products.
Yeah, it's a little bittersweet because I know we were all really looking forward to that 100th episode. But I think now maybe it can be the 200th episode or whatever it is that takes the place of that big accomplishment that's going to happen in probably 6 to 8 months from now, where we hit that kind of milestone and we can celebrate and have as much fun with that. So let's go into the chat just a little bit. Dennis here is saying, but then categorize your live streams into playlists so your viewers know they're still thematically distinct. Yes, 100%. So all the live streams will still stay. So right now we have the critique live stream that's got the 1 through 13 I think we did. We've got the Learn It Live episodes, and even some of the past Thursday episodes that were not necessarily Learn It Live have fallen into that Learn It Live segment. So we may change how some of those playlists are structured. But then the growth episodes will all stick in the growth. And we've even gone and done like a sales episode or a sales playlist recently that took all the growth content from our growth episodes in the past and put them all into one big playlist. So if you want to learn about sales even further than just separating from the growth, so it's like, hey, here's the growth, but also here's some stuff about sales if you just want to dig into that. And we'll continue to do that. So Dennis, that's good feedback, and we will for sure do that. So Daniel's here saying, honestly, it's going to make things way easier on both sides. Sometimes it's tricky finding specific episodes. Yeah, right. Yeah, you got to know, like, was it a Learn It Live? Am I starting this sequence here? Or is it a growth episode or whatever? So again, hopefully that'll help.
And I think by date, it will be more clear. And that's what this ordering is. It will be more ordered by date rather than the sequential order of a specific category.
Yeah.
So yeah, totally agree with you there, Daniel.
Nice. Okay, 94. Whoa, we're close, y'all. Come on. Melissa says she said hit the, where is it? She said hit the, where was it? Hit the buzzer to like pump us up. No, we don't get a premature buzzer, okay? We don't get a premature horn. We get a horn at 100, okay? We used to blow the horn prematurely. It doesn't happen anymore because we set some rules, and that's how this goes, okay? Okay, so going back to some changes, let's just talk about change a little bit. Anto's saying recent changes using Airtable to track everything, back to basics. Great. Maybe share what do you mean? Like, are you talking about clients? Are you talking about projects? Are you talking about content? Like, what are you managing in Airtable? That'd be interesting to know, Anto. Here's one, Joe.
Colleen, did my first YouTube short on Sunday. Learned a lot doing it. Nice, Colleen. Excellent. Yep, trying new things, doing new things, just getting in there. Maybe it's not exactly the way you planned it or exactly your long-term plan, but you just did it. You went for it. So yeah, that's what you got to do.
And I don't know if there's anyone who experiments more with stuff than Colleen. She's always playing with some new tool, some new thing, trying to connect something to this thing. And so shout out for I think that's just the spirit of this no-code space. So yeah, Edgar saying you could post it on Twitter and we share it. There you go, Colleen. I think he may be talking to you. Anto saying the same thing. So. Okay, transitioning from design to dev, design plus dev to dev only. Once I get out from under all these design projects. Okay, Tony, that's a big change. I see a lot of people making that change, Joe. That's something that I think has become more and more popular in the space. What do you think about Tony's move there?
It is. And Tony, that's great to hear. You know, I feel a lot of people that make this change feel really good about it because they're not as excited about the design side. And if you're not super excited about the design side, it just doesn't make sense to do it. So Tony, it sounds like you're happy about this. Good for you. And these are the types of changes we're talking about. You know, you start your agency, design, dev, branding, and then you look back and say, well, actually, this is not exactly what I want to do. I just want to do development. So it's the same concept. These kind of changes and thought processes happen all throughout our business.
Nice. Let's see. Christopher saying, I'm just sad we didn't get to have the episode 100 party. Yeah, me too. We'll do it at 200. We'll do a big hurrah at the 200 because that I think will be close to the equivalent of time that it would have taken us. Felix is saying, I thought Tuesday is the main stream and the only one I consistently attend. Probably need to add the Thursday stream to my calendar. That's right. What are y'all sleeping? If you've been only coming to Tuesdays, you better come Thursdays. And if you only be coming Thursdays, you better come Tuesdays. I think at one point the growth stream was supposed to be the main stream and Thursdays was like, hey, let's hang out and get a little more hands-on kind of thing. But then Thursdays has honestly been a little more popular than the Tuesdays a couple times in the last few weeks. We've had bigger counts on Thursdays than we have on Tuesdays. So again, that was one of the things that led to us doing this. And also the stream's kind of evolving into this little like more conversational, less structured. I think the first like 40, 50 episodes, we were like, let's just dump all the knowledge we have. And every week we put so much work into like creating this outline and the shows were more presentational and we just kind of went through. And then the last, like I would say 3 or 4 weeks, we've just done a lot more of this conversational stuff, really going with the flow off the comments. And that's been a lot of fun. And I think that's also leading to feeling like these are coming together a little bit, which again goes back to the numbering thing. So Joe, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, the Thursday has been such an experiment for us that we've changed the Thursday format so often. It's like our test day. And I think it's really now starting to fall into this conversational stage where, maybe we do a Learn It Live. We're going to cover this thing in Client First today or cover this in Attributes today. But overall, I think we're just hanging out. We're talking about what what the community talks about, what people bring up in the chat, and that's it's just all part of tests and iterations, the whole thing, especially that Thursday day.
Well, and also I think part of the fun of the live thing is that we're all here with y'all in the comments and bringing you in and having the conversation be more dynamic rather than it just being this like thing that like if it's perfectly produced, we can still produce a video and publish that. No big deal. You know, but the live stuff, let's really take advantage of the fact that we're all here, and maybe you all have suggestions about what we can do to enhance that. Trivia's coming. Oh my goodness, wait till you see the updates on trivia. If you weren't with us on trivia the first time we did it, listen, we've added so much cool stuff. I can't wait. We're going to schedule that here in the next few weeks. Don't you worry about it. Going to have a badass trivia stuff. But think about other things we could do on these lives, you know, that might take advantage of everyone just kind of hanging out and being here at the same time.
Do we want to keep bringing up some comments here?
Yeah, Zach.
Okay, Zach, recent change. We have been changing our entire services structure and the way we offer bundle services into a fun new creative way that is very relevant to our niche. Results-based versus service-based. Nice. So, Zach, this is a massive change. It's a change in the way you bring money into the business. It's a change in the way you pitch. It's a change in the way everything, how you deliver. So this is big. And Zach is not just starting. Zach has been here for a long time. So I'm sure this change is coming after a lot of failures, a lot of realization of this isn't as efficient as I wanted it to be. Let's now make a big change here.
Yeah. And knowing Zach, it might even just have a little bit to do with culture and making the process more fun for either himself or the team or even the client. So yeah, that's cool to see. And again, it's part of that experimentation process. I know Zach's got a cool little niche that he does a lot of work in. And so finding ways to optimize that and maybe leverage that in other ways is valuable there. So Colleen, this is a good point. There are references out there to existing episodes with the numbers may cause more confusion if you renumber. Correct. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We thought about that. And not only that, but then in the episode. So if we change the thumbnail and we change the title, sure, that makes sense at a glance. But then in the episode, we're referencing the original number. So I think we won't go back and change anything. We may change thumbnails because we're doing some thumbnail stuff. And so we may go back and redo all of past thumbnails to help with visibility and, just standing out in the YouTube, what do they call that, grid or whatever. But yeah, you're probably right. We probably want to adjust the episodes.
Next comment from Joel Whitaker. Mm-hmm. We pivoted our smaller SaaS product and consolidated a few things last week. It was a hard decision, but the right one. Change does not equal failure.
Correct.
Nice. Good for you, Joel.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, Joel, what was that the other day? I saw put out some little something or other, and I think I saw a tweet from him saying it just hadn't got the traction he thought in the moment, and he was looking for a different direction to take it. And I think that's a smart move. But again, experimenting, right? That first initial effort gives you a little shot. I think there was an example recently in one of our episodes where we talked about like the difference in two things. Right? If you had two different people and one was tasked with having 100 days to build the best widget you could build, and then the other person was tasked with building a new widget every day for 100 days to see how good you could get at building widgets. And who would you hire in that instance? And almost always, I'm going to take the person who's building a new widget a day for 100 days because you're going to get real good at building widgets. Maybe you have some shit days, right? Like maybe some days the widgets are just total trash, but on those days, maybe you learn how to not make trash widgets and you make some exponential leap on day 50 that you would have never got to if all you did was spend your 100 days building the one beautiful widget. And I don't know, it's the same way kind of in this business. It's the same analogy where like you are the widget, your business is the widget, you are the thing, right? And so if you're only working on like one thing and trying to think that, oh, all of a sudden one day I'm going to be the best and the biggest, not going to happen. But if every day you're taking these little steps and you're iterating and you're twisting and you're turning and you're trying new things, one day you might look back and be like, holy shit, look how far we've come, you know? And the product will be so different that you won't even recognize it. And all of a sudden you'll just be in a different stratosphere of who you're selling to, the amount of money you're making, all the things we talk about on the show. So Joe, any thoughts on that analogy?
Yeah, I love it. That iteration process, building the 100 widgets in 100 days, it helps you understand how to build the best widget. I don't think you can understand how to build the best widget when you build one.
Yeah.
You're just going to iterate on the same thing. But I think sometimes you need a big reset. And having that reset every day, that's incredibly valuable. It made me think of attributes, that we released all of these tools throughout the years. CMS library, Cal invite, sweet text, class adder. There's so many more of these. And there's all these little brands. And at the time, it was a great concept and a great idea. But then we look back on it and said, we can't do all these little brands. There's inconsistencies with the way you implement. And now let's take all of the knowledge that we had and consolidate it into one single badass product. And that's attributes. Mm-hmm. If we just started building attributes from the beginning, I guarantee you it wouldn't be where it is today. Yeah. It just wouldn't.
Right.
It's where it is today because of all of those failures. And now we know, well, people don't really want to implement like this. People want to implement like this.
Right. And that's crazy to think because CMS library and all those other things were crazy popular. Like, wow, like people are still using them. Even with the big warning, like removing attributes, like people are still using the stuff. And it was wildly popular. And so think about how big that shift was or that pivot. But again, it makes it exponentially better after or going through that process. So Gay Perez saying, you got to earn the horn. Come on, I see it, 98, 96. Come on, we could do this. 2 more. Let's do it. Just open up a private browser. Call your mom. There it goes. Come on. All right, now we can relax. Okay. All right. Soon, we're going to be hitting that buzzer at 200. Come on. Like, yeah. I honestly believe this. I think one of our long-term goals here is to turn this community into some kind of media endeavor. You will hear more about that over the next few months as we experiment with tools and how we do that. But yeah, again, going back to what we think, live is a real important part of this. Events especially are a big part of that. And then merging those two, a lot of fun. Anyway, so back to change. Well, back to Colleen is amazing. Yeah, great. Every chance we get to say that, we're going to say it. So Colleen, another shout out. Okay, Spencer. You want to take this one, Joe?
Spencer, yeah, new stuff is cool. I have office hours tutorial with the guys at Sano right after this.
Nice.
Great.
Yeah, Xano's a cool tool. I see it sneaking up more and more in the no-code space. I see a lot more people talking about that. Yeah.
Penny, doubling down on my learning to feel more confident about taking on more projects. Great.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You don't really know how to take on a lot of projects until you understand how to take on more projects. And some of that really comes down to learning how to do that, whether it's learning new features, learning new functionalities to be able to implement on sites, just understanding that workflow to be able to go through 4 or 5 different clients at the same time. It's a skill. So yeah, nice to hear that, Penny.
Yeah. Let's keep going. Oh, more Colleen is amazing. There we go. See? Just going to keep happening.
Tony.
Okay. Oh. So believe me, I'm not excited about design, at least doing it. I do appreciate good design, though. The transition is just slower than I'd like. We'll get there. Yeah, it's sometimes one of those things that just takes time to stick with it. Yeah.
Nice. And for people that came in, Tony said before that he is switching from design and dev to dev only. So this is his response to that change.
Yeah, and Dale's got the opposite side of that. He says, I'm design first, working on upping the dev side. How about the dev for designer episodes? Yeah, so it's funny. It's like the opposite sides of different pies. Yeah, and I've seen some of y'all connecting. I've seen some folks in the community saying, hey, I want to go dev first, I want to go design first, and then those that have led to connecting and creating something new together. So that's cool. Here's one,
Comment
Joe.
from Juan. Hey Joe, you said you're not a designer and started off on your own. Did you ever consider design services like Design Pickle or Penji? Why? Thank you very much. Well, I did consider those, but I have found it hard to find the right quality in those types of services. When Finsweet was offering design services, a lot of it was what I call wild design. Design that's totally different. We're not building simple landing pages. We're trying to build something that's totally different. That was part of the sales pitch. So I tried a few services, not these, and they just didn't work. I tried a couple of random people. It didn't work. I found it very difficult to find the right designer for the Finsweet brand and how I imagine design.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes it's just those services. We talked about, we had a whole episode on like the Upwork thing and some of these third-party services. They can be very useful. It does take some time to kind of vet and find the right people, but a lot of times, for maybe like production work, it's okay. But if you're looking for, that like super standout, those folks are just not usually selling their services on platforms like that. The people who are really doing the standout design work, the Joseph Berrys of the world, the Mackenzie Childs, those folks are just really doing, they're direct to service, right? They don't need a third party. Their work's so good that it draws attention in. Typically, those other services are folks who are looking for more, like maybe they're not as prolific or they don't have that type of reach. And so they need someone else to bring them the leads. And so by virtue of that, there's usually a trade-off in quality and you gotta sort through them. So Pablo Cortez is asking, did you think about making a sub-channel from your main channel? That way you can have multiple channels for growth, attributes, etc. We have considered a clips channel. We are considering a clips channel. We probably will launch a clips channel soon because this show is very long form content. We've been editing clips for a while now, but we didn't want to flood this channel with all those clips. And so we're thinking about the best way to use all that and do this. And so we are considering other channels. You don't want to split them up too much though, because then you have to work so hard to build them all up, you wouldn't want to have a small channel with like a couple hundred subscribers for just one and then a couple hundred for another and then some main channel and then there's no overlap. So it's not the ideal way to do YouTube just because of how YouTube works. You almost want that network effect that comes with having all that content in one place. We just got to organize a little better, Joe. Any thoughts there, Joe?
Yeah, organize better. That's the right way to put it. And when you start these things, you don't know how to organize. I think it's very difficult to predict the future and know exactly the way that you should organize 1 year in the future. Right? We started the naming, we started the YouTube channel years ago. We started live over a year ago. And there's just a lot of people spend so much time planning it out and trying to think of the perfect way to do it. But the reality is that doesn't become clear until you've messed up a little bit, until you've tried different things and understand what you want. So yeah, it's really an iterative process, and that's how we're taking a lot of things at Finsweet, including this YouTube channel.
Yeah, I think that's something you would all do well to not fall in the trap of, especially as you get started, is especially on your portfolio or we see this all the time where people just get locked up waiting to develop the perfect thing. They add new features, they do whatever, all these other things other than publishing and sending it and getting it in front of real people. But don't forget that we're in a market that requires validation in order to move forward, right? We're in a binary space. Lots of things in the world you can BS your way through, but tech is not, right? We talk about this all the time, that the output in tech is really all that matters, right? It doesn't matter where you build it, who you are, what you do in your personal life, as long as when I go to this product, the thing does what you say it does. And so the only way to get better at doing that is to iterate, is to constantly iterate, like we talked about at the beginning of the show, right? And so just getting your reps in, like anything else, is the best way to do that. And again, we can't make some of these decisions without having 60 episodes under our belt, or trying to do 3 or 4 different types of content under the same umbrella and then figuring out like, oh shit, it's not going to work that way. So let's see. Have we settled on a name for Thursday? We have not. But I think that's kind of the point we're getting to here, is that they're all just going to be Finsweet Live. Like it's just all going to be, and then we'll have categories and we'll have titles for each episode kind of thing.
Yeah, and maybe even tags. I could see the library of live videos growing so much that we have the primary categories, but under that we have tags. So maybe this is a growth category, but under it it's sales, sales tools, sales strategy. where now you can really get into exactly what type of content you're looking for.
Right.
I don't think we're there yet, but that's what I see this growing into, and that I think the number.
Yeah. We are inescapable from technical glitches on the stream. If you've been with us for a long time, you know that we had early on some initial problems with consistency on the streams, and now we're trying to troubleshoot this issue with Joe's computer. He's got like great internet, everything's perfect, and for some reason we keep having these little glitches on his calls every once in a while. But yeah, we'll figure it out. So we'll figure it out. Just bear with us anyway. Tommy Gunn here. Joe, you want to take that one?
Tommy, all your work. Hold on.
Here, I'll read it.
I'm
all your
having
work you've done for the community and these videos, for example, are they to build your brand to gain more clients, or do you hope to transition from doing Webflow builds for clients? So he's asking a little bit about the strategy behind
yes.
the content strategy here a little bit.
Okay, transition from doing Webflow builds for clients. I don't think we will stop doing Webflow builds for clients. There is absolutely no plan from transitioning out of our current agency model. It's very successful. It does very well. We are looking to scale that. I think these videos serve two purposes. One, to help us get more leads in. We have a constant flow of leads in for our agency. And number two, it is to build this community. That's the primary reason for the videos. It's to get people in the Webflow community excited. It's to bring more people into the Webflow community so we can help them. And it's to help market our products, to help share the great tools that we have created for you, like attributes.
Yeah.
I think that's a good answer, Tommy. Let me know if you have a follow-up to that.
Yeah, and I guess I would throw into that we are also, let's see, was that November of 2019? Talked about the transition into dev first. And so we do have a focus internally on products, and we are building tools and stuff. So it's not that we want to transition away from doing the Webflow builds. It's that we also want to focus an equal amount of energy on building products, supporting the community, hosting events, doing all the other intangibles around that. And we think to do some of that, you need to have more visibility. You need to have this consistent engagement with folks. You need to be able to talk to people on a regular basis and have some kind of flowing conversation. And that's one of the things we want to do too, is get people coming from one show to the next with some kind of higher level conversation that also carries through. So yeah, there'll be product updates. Yeah, there'll be the weekly topic, but also are there things, a grander narrative that's happening in the world of Webflow, in the world of no code, that we can weave through this that really helps us kind of build the narrative. This is what the pro account is for. This is why we get so excited when you all share your work with us, because now we're all celebrating in the successes together. And so we hope that as this grows, we can also start bringing folks from the community up into roles of visibility. And so what you'll see over the next year or so is that we're also going to try to use this platform to bring some of you all from behind the screen to in front of the screen. And so I'm just teasing a little bit about where the direction is, but and I'm just looking at the time here, Joe. Should we maybe take another couple questions and jump into this table of contents, or what
Sure.
should we do?
Yeah, let's take. There's some pretty good questions here. I'd hate to leave them, but
Yeah.
yes, we. For anybody that came in after the beginning of the episode, we'll be previewing the new table of contents functionality inside attributes. It will take a full rich text block, and it will create a left sidebar type table of contents that you can scroll through that rich text block. So yeah, let's take some more questions. We may go over the hour, but it will be worth the wait.
Yeah, why don't we spend another 6-8 minutes here, and then we can do a nice 10 or 15 of just that demo, and we'll close the show with that demo.
Great.
F and flow for Thursdays, right? Love the FS design from Gather to the live streams to the product. So well done. Great. Thank you, Colleen. And we still want to use that Gather space, and we want you all to use that Gather space too. Look, if you're hosting events and you're interested in doing stuff, that Gather space is wide open. It's got a huge capacity, so you don't have to worry about the 25-person limit. We would like you to give us a heads up if you're going to use it, but honestly, I've walked in there and seen people doing small little impromptu meetings. I've seen people taking client meetings in there. I've seen people using the conference room in different ways. So yeah, that is an asset, again, and a resource for the community. So if you're out there and looking for different things that you can use to kind of make your events feel more fun, we'd love to help support you as well. Daniel's asking a good question here, Joe. I'm in the process of getting a leadership position, but also want to continue working on my design studio. Do you think it's realistic to do quality work with 2 full-time jobs?
No, I don't. I don't think you can look at that as 2 full-time jobs. If you're splitting your time, it's not full-time. So I think you can realistically do quality work with 2 part-time jobs, but you have to identify these as part-time. If you try to do 2 full-time jobs at the same time, you're too full. There's only one room for full-time, and that's your full-time. So Daniel, I would say no, look at them as part-time. You can do them both, but don't try to overwork yourself with 12-hour days with 2 full-time jobs.
Yeah.
Reimar, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. I think you could have a good side hustle, right? I think you could have like one core business, and then you could have, or job or something, and then you could create a little side hustle, especially if that's an automated thing. If you can get to something that, it takes a couple hours of your time here and there, but mostly it's happening kind of asynchronously from you. It doesn't require a direct correlation between your labor and the amount of, work delivered, like to do the job. So I think that could be a thing. I do agree with Joe. I think once you start splitting it, you've heard stories recently of people handling more than one like remote job at a time, or some people doing certain things. And I guess if you wanted to work 100 hours every week and you were really going to be efficient and break that up and say, hey, I'm going to divide full-time to this and full-time to that, and you didn't want to do anything else, I mean, technically, probably you could. Is it the best idea for your mental health and sanity, and are both of them going to be getting your best work? I'm not sure. So yeah, I guess you got to weigh the balance there.
We have a question, from Joel Mitchell. Hit capacity as a one-man studio for the last few months. Any advice for making your first hire? Feels like a big but necessary jump. Well, Joel, we have a lot of episodes in the past talking about this exactly. So I would recommend that you go back and look at some of these episodes.
Episode number 1, our first episode was about how to plan and hire for growth, how to plan for growth and make your first hire. Literally check out episode 1.
And the short answer to that is start small. Don't think about hiring somebody full-time on salary or just full-time working. Start small. Start on a small project. Start on something that may not even be client work yet. So start small. But you can definitely do it, and it will be tough, Joel, but you got to push through that.
Yeah. Rahul is not going to let us forget about Joe's rock and roll days here. We're our internet sleuths. Mattia saying, I think this live could be used to share experiences with projects you're working on. Yeah, that's the show and tell. That's the best. That's the best use of that for the show and tell. That's the great format for that. People have said they'd like to see interviews. So, we've been experimenting or thinking about, could we do some interviews, but we don't want to do the same interviews like everyone are doing. Like, love you, Connor and Aaron and Nelson and Joseph Barry and all these folks. It's like, but nobody needs another interview with, a series of just, going round robin. And so if we do interviews, we kind of want to take a new approach, and bring something new to it. And so we're going to experiment with the different format and things we do, but look at that show and tell. Look at us to also jump into other people's events. So if you're hosting an event and you want it live streamed, you want some visibility, you want to maybe reach outside of the scope of your group, let's figure out how to do that. We've got all this capacity, we've got, investing in all the gear. Now let's put it to work for you all. We can produce behind the scenes, even if we're not on screen. If the quality content, if it's, we can just do all the back end production. So again, if you're out there and you're interested in experimenting or exploring with that stuff, send a DM, send a smoke signal, put out the bat signal, post a video doing the Finsweet flex and let us know. Omkar meme. We need more Omkar memes always.
Yep.
Okay, let's see.
We have a nice comment from Tony Seats. Will you bring on any other members of the team into the lives in the future, like Alex Iglesias, when major updates happen, like folders? Yes, we just talked about this the other day. Absolutely, and I think we're going to do a product stream, right, Reimar? I don't remember exactly what we talked about, but a stream that talks about all of our updates for products.
Correct.
What is that?
We have not picked a date for the first one yet, but I would imagine before the end of May, we probably will. We're going to start doing a once a month live with Alex just to do product recaps. The product's evolving so much. We're always these little updates going out on attributes and little different things that you all don't see unless you're subscribed to or following the changelog on GitHub. And so once a month, we want to get everyone together and kind of run through all of the different products, what progress has been made over the last month, and answer any questions specific to the products and give you all a little bit more visibility into the roadmap. We also have a couple big product launches that are going to be coming over the next few months. And so we want to start setting the stage for some of that as well. So yes, expect us to do more things like that. We'd also like to maybe have some of the designers on and have some of the other folks on. And so, yeah, that's what I meant about bringing some of the other folks and even you in the audience up into this as a platform here. So, what you're watching is kind of set the foundation here so that we can stack more on top of that.
I think this may be the last comment. We could talk
Okay.
about this and then we can go into the demo. This is from Alexander Andrade.
Okay.
And this is a great question. We get this kind of question a lot. I would like to understand a little better the difference between dev and design in web development. Does this difference refer to back-end versus front-end? Dev refers to building web apps as Finsweet attributes. Good questions. And then there's a follow-up. Dev uses JavaScript only? It would be great if you can put me in context on this topic. I'm still learning. Thank you for all the value you provide in these lives. Thank you, Alexander. Would love to answer this. I think a lot of people have this question and there's no official answer. I'll tell you how we approach this naming convention at Finsweet. We use the term developer as somebody who is creating a website or creating some functionality for a website, not design related. Right, so this could be a Webflow developer, somebody building in Webflow, somebody generating HTML, generating CSS. And then we also call our technical developers the people that are technical in development. These are people that write JavaScript, people that may have back-end experience, may have front-end experience with writing JavaScript. So developer, I think it used to be a coding term. It used to be a term for people that just wrote code. But now, with Webflow allowing us to build websites, personally, I have opened up this dev term to anybody that's building in Webflow. If you're building a site in Webflow, you are a developer. You're not a back-end developer. Maybe you can call yourself a front-end developer. You're definitely a Webflow developer.
Yeah.
And that is how I believe that. Design is completely different. This is, I don't see that as building in Webflow. You're not designing when you're building in Webflow. You're developing. You're making HTML. You're making CSS. You're publishing those files to the web developer. So that's how I think about it. Reimar, do you have any additions to that?
No, I think my only hesitation would be careful using language that exists in other places that other people might misperceive or that might misrepresent your work. For instance, a front-end developer. You may get away with that because you can export the code with Webflow, and so you may be able to like deliver some HTML and CSS and JavaScript files for folks. But careful, if you jump into that world, that you actually do know what you're doing before you find yourself in water that's way over your head. I liked the Webflow developer language. I'm a Webflow developer. Website developer. Lots of different terms. I don't know. But yeah, that's the only concern I would have there was just be careful, when you jump in off the deep end, and if you do go dev only, that you understand where your boundary is from a no code or Webflow standpoint, entering into that full front end side of things. Because HTML, CSS, and JavaScript is one thing, but when you start going into front-end frameworks and people start expecting React and they start expecting like live connections and other things that, again, you just don't get into with Webflow. So that would be my only caveat to Joe's last statement. I agree with everything he said except for just, making sure you're tight there.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with that as well.
Great. Yeah, Fernando just wanted to shout this out. Making merchandising. I want a cap as Reimar. Okay. Check the description. There's a merch store link in the description. So Joe, with that, I think we can come back to any other comments here if we have time, but let's jump into your screen here. Oh, hey, now we're looking at my screen. All right, let's take a look at Joe's screen here. Need a Friday recap stream called Flowback Friday. There we go. We'll just replay all the episodes. It's just a replay of the week. Damn, that's a good idea. You may see something like that. Okay, I'm gonna leave it to Joe here. It's all yours now.
Okay, here I have a published page with a big rich text block. All of this text is rich text. And we have our 2 link templates that will now generate based on the headings of this rich text block. So let's go in Designer and confirm all of this. It's a single rich text block, and you can see it spans the entire size of this page. One single rich text block. Great. And now we have these nav links on the side. These are going to be used as our template for generating our table of contents. So now I'm going to go and apply 2 different attributes to go and make this work. Let's click on the rich text. I'll go and add an attribute, and this is going to be the contents. And then I am going to go and select this. This will be the link. And this is going to be, again, the link. This will generate as the H2. This will generate as the H3. And when I publish it, it is really that easy that this is now going to generate an entire table of contents for us. And the publish is through.
I was going to put a countdown clock on that.
It's too fast, too late.
By the time I realized it was over. Oh. There you go.
Am I back?
You're back.
Okay. This is generated based on that single rich text block. Look at this. We have the naming convention. We have the overview topics, class strategy, and I can actually go and click through these. There we go. So I'm navigating through this. Everything looks great. I can anchor scroll, and I can even set an offset. So let's go and set an offset to this, and that's going to be an offset top. So I'll go here, and I will apply to the rich text offset top, and let's do this at a 6 rem. So I'll go and save this, publish, and now we have our offset. And as you know, with attributes, we have a whole series of options and features, and you can have H2, H3, you can have H2 through H6. You can add Webflow interactions to this. If people want, I can show the Webflow interactions example, and that is just super powerful. I mean, the amount of time that it took to create this compared to a traditional method with code is just unbelievable. And let's look what happens when we have this offset. There we go. Perfect.
Yeah, Joe, go back to the editor view so that people can see. So let's just break this down. On the sidebar on the left there, if in the published view, y'all can see that all of those fields are now filled in. So what he's doing in the back end is just assigning the class for what you want each thing to do in the rich text field. If you want the heading to be a top level bullet or the heading to be a sub level bullet, just basically assigning that with attributes there. So you can see on the left, he's styled this sidebar how he wants it to be. And then on the front end, it's just bringing that content over and creating that on the fly. And so, yeah, this is, if you've ever tried to do anything like this in Webflow, who was saying, I just saw something about trying to do this with code. Yeah, John Saxton saying, that's the simplest thing, took an hour with code, took under a minute with attributes. Correct. Correct.
And I'm going to also show a couple of great features that we have with this. It's very, very integrated to Webflow as a platform. And that starts with the current link. So you'll see that we have this really nice current state here. When I'm scrolling, when I'm clicking, I get to see these in their current state. And that's going to integrate directly with the current state of Webflow. Oh, now you get to see all the new pages we have in Docs. And look at this. So I've set the current state. This is using current. And now this is directly integrated to Webflow's current state. So we have full styling control. We don't have any combo classes to add or to specify or anything like that. So super integrated there. Should I show a Webflow interactions example?
Yes.
I think I should.
Dale
It's super
says
cool.
interactions example. Yes, please.
Yes.
We're getting
Okay.
amazing, way too slick. We got some eyeballs emojis. Yeah. This is...
Okay. So, yes.
There's a question Jeff is saying, is it recommended to put so much content into a rich text field? I don't know where else you'd put it.
Sure.
I don't know. The only other thing you could do is maybe break up the rich text field into multiple rich text fields, but I only would recommend that if you're going to like put some kind of styling break or whatever. That also becomes a nightmare for clients then, because then you have to explain to them, hey, you have to take your story and break it up into 2 different rich text sections or whatever. So I don't think it's an issue. I think a rich text field is exactly where you would put all of that content. I don't think that's a real big problem. Joe, any other thoughts there?
You can have it all in one. That's preferred, but sometimes it does need to be broken into 2. And we'll bring up a question from Jane Parry. Beautiful. How about if my article is in 2 separate rich text blocks? Absolutely yes. This is going to integrate with our instance numbers. When you put the -1, -2, you can link different instances of this together and create multiple of these table of contents that stack on top of each other. So yes, we've thought about a lot of these use cases. We know that sometimes you need to do certain things in Webflow, and all of those things are integrated into the solution.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was talking about before, is if you have to split it up, because sometimes with your design, maybe you want like a hero image to break up the middle of the article, and so you want the first half of the article to show up on the top rich text field. You want some big hero image that's like your, breaks up the image or whatever, or gallery of images, or whatever your design calls for, and then another rich text field. Maybe you want to be able to still have that work here, and I think that's what Jane is asking here. And Alex is also saying it's compatible with all other rich text solutions. So rich text, code highlight, etc. This works with all of that stuff.
Nice. Great. Okay, so let's get into the interactions. And what I'm going to do here is I will go and add a div block. I'm going to give that div block a class so we can apply the interaction to the class. So I'll call this the docs nav ix trigger. We're going to set this to hide. It's just going to act as our trigger to trigger a close of the H3s. We're going to close, collapse, and expand the H3s on the page. So I'll go ahead, add that element trigger directly to this. We'll apply it at the class level, so every one of these will get this interaction. And we're going to apply a first click and a second click interaction here. So let's just do first click. And we're going to select this sibling, and I'm going to make it size, initial state at 0 pixels. Siblings with this class, excellent. And then when those H3s are in view, we are going to change the size to auto. And we'll give it a little bit of an ease out at 0.3 seconds. Let's do 0.2 seconds. And there we go. Now we'll do a second click. I'll duplicate this. And we're going to remove this, set this initial state. And again, we'll do an ease out at 0.2. And I cannot forget to apply an attribute to it. So this one's going to be fs, table of contents, element, I want to say ix trigger. Let me check my docs here. Yep, ix trigger. Great. So now when I go and publish this, the Webflow interaction is going to be applied to this link wrapper. And you can see this link wrapper is holding all of the H3s. So as I scroll through each section, the H2 is going to go active, and the H3s are going to expand and contract as we go through that section. Going to be very cool. Beware. So let's go and give this a load. Look at all of these collapsed. We're at the top of the page, And look at the magic. Nice. So we are integrating Webflow interactions. This was a really easy setup, but you can set any interaction. And look at this. Now we get to focus on exactly the correct section that we're on. And this is going to expand and contract as needed. Super, super powerful. And if you've tried to set this up with custom code, you've probably failed because this is super integrated now. This is not just showing an active state. This is now integrating our effects engine inside Webflow. So the options for this are, I think, endless. I mean, I think people are going to really come up with some creative solutions for this.
Yeah, this is that next level shit right here, y'all.
This is next level. Yes, it is.
Yeah, this is Jeff McAvoy, mind blown. Dale Jensen here giving a wow. Yeah, people are definitely loving this. This one of those things that, yeah, effing pro, you get a little sneak peek at this. You get it for a month first before everyone else. But yeah, to be putting stuff like this out there as attributes that people can just use, I mean, there's people
you
building.
Can charge for this.
There's people building whole businesses around just a little product like this. There's literally, you know, I could easily see somebody $5 a month, just gonna send it this product alone, and maybe you don't sell a ton of it, but you sell enough of it. Yeah, so this is cool stuff to be able to do this again without code, even without the interaction stuff. But adding that little thing at the end there was super cool to see that just kind of automatically open and close based on, yeah, just the page triggers.
We saw Adrian Lexington earlier in the episode say that he had some clients that requested this, and it kind of sounded like he didn't implement it for them. And now he says he's going to reach back out to them and offer to implement this. I think companies will pay for this feature. This is a whole new feature. This is a really powerful way to manage a blog with heavy text, right? It doesn't make sense to do this if you have little tiny blogs with 2 H2s and an H3. But look, this content here, we have 20 pages of docs that have this much content to them. So how do you manage that? How do you show a clear hierarchy of what we're looking at here? This is the solution. It's going to greatly enhance the UX of any kind of heavy content.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're doing doc sites or if you're like a actual blogger, you know, a lot of times people in Webflow are not using, you know, they're doing simple CMS items, you know, maybe like recipe cards or little articles or whatever. But now, as you see them get closer and closer to potentially removing this 10,000 item limit, as you get into more people seeing the value of Webflow, you have all these sites that, you know, are going to be looking to migrate into this platform, creating wikis and help sections, which is what Brandon's saying here. Yeah, before this, probably the most used, the TOC bot library. Right. So again, this is something that's going to help folks with real content, rich, heavy sites, big text, heavy sites, organize and structure stuff. And it's just a little add-on to the attribute stuff here. So, and this isn't even, this is like, again, these are not even the big announcements and releases and stuff that we got coming. So
great comment from Joel. Table of contents is the only reason we host our docs on a different platform. Wow. Now we can move everything back to Webflow. That's amazing. That's great. It's such a powerful feature that Joel actually had to move off of Webflow to host it.
Yep.
That's powerful.
Yep. Yeah, and Alexander's saying, what about the responsive of this project? Well, that would be as responsive as you build it. You know, you could probably on mobile, if you wanted the sidebar to collapse and have a little button trigger to open and close on the side, you know, so that when you click it, it closes again and takes you back to that level. Like you could do anything you could do in Webflow with this. So I could easily see this being really nicely responsive, and it just turns into a little hamburger menu or a little tab or something on your page that you can slide out to still have access to, but then slide in when you want to read and look at it. So,
and remember that we're using this left sidebar method here, but that's not a requirement for this solution. This is just the one that a lot of people use. You can have the table of contents above all of the content, kind of like Notion. If you use the Notion table of contents, it will generate all the table of contents above the content. You can do a top bar that drops down. You can do anything. And that same thing for mobile. You can really change the CSS for this any way you want. And with interactions, you can turn things on or off by responsive level or apply different interactions by responsive level. So yeah, completely ready for mobile.
Yeah, and we've got a couple people even saying here, even for SEO purposes, it's amazing. John saying this is excellent for usability and SEO. Yes, correct. And Tyler, there are going to be some cool doc clonables made with this for sure. I do agree with that. Oh, looks like Joe bounced out of here. Let's go back into this view so y'all can't see the guts of my screen here. Let's see. Eric Mueller saying,
Tyler, I'm looking at you. I want you to be the person to make the cool docs clonables. You're on fire, so let's see it happen.
That's right. That's right. And then Eric says, speaking of blogs, what do you think about creating a comment section? It's so needed sometimes, been a deal breaker for potential clients who wanted to move from WordPress. Yeah, it's tough right now. Comments are not native to Webflow. You could do some like commenting system, but that usually requires like an additional login. And so that's, not always ideal. I don't know that there's a good solution for this. There are lots of kind of off the shelf, you can add Disqus or, some other type of commenting system, but I don't know.
When clients would ask about this, I would first check the amount of comments on their posts. Sometimes, I would say a lot of times, the content has very few comments on it, usually none. So if you have 50 blog posts and there's 1 or 2 comments throughout all of the posts, I think it looks silly. I mean, when you have a no comment post, it looks like nobody read it, even though there may be thousands of people that read it per day. So I like to try to convince people to not do comments. And if they're very popular and there's a very crowded comment section, I would think that they'd have enough money to implement a custom solution, something that may require a couple of extra products. But usually we don't implement this at all. I can't remember the last time we built a comment system. And when we did, we used Disqus.
Yeah. That being said, hint, hint, there is an interesting product that we may or may not be working on that could scratch some of this itch. It's not exactly a commenting system inside of Webflow, but just more teases at things that are coming. So, do you guys have a docs template you could give to pros? Not yet, but Tyler says he's on it. So maybe somebody will soon enough. Joel is saying, do you have a pro doc? And then Tyler says, I'm on it. So somebody will. Urban Pixel, hello, welcome. Let's see. Commenting systems are a huge task. Webflow will probably not serve this field, and that is completely understandable. For those looking for such a system, I highly recommend Hive or TOC instead. There you go. Somebody knows what they're saying, is giving you a recommendation on what to do there. Comments are hard. I would also recommend take the comments to a social platform. Encourage people to go and get on Twitter to comment, get on Facebook to comment, have the conversation on a platform that rewards those comments. Comments can be great for SEO on your blog, but curating and managing and I don't know, usually you end up with a lot of spam. So you got to have good spam detection, and it's not as easy as it may seem. So maybe would-be commenters could be directed to a social platform. Yeah, right, Penny. That's what I think is the right move.
Nice.
Yep.
Okay, Joel, it's possible to nest.
Yeah.
There are solutions out there. They're not easy, but it's possible.
Right.
We should announce that there's no stream on Thursday.
Correct. Forgot to mention that earlier.
Let's make that clear.
Yep. No stream Thursday. I will be traveling. So we will be back Tuesday next week with that. And I think we're at a good place here to probably just wrap this thing up and close out of here. I think the Webflow show is happening right now on Twitter Spaces. I think y'all can jump over there. And I don't remember. I think they're talking about working for yourself or working for a team. So that might be a fun discussion. I usually jump in after these streams. I go over there and just listen to them on Twitter a little bit, and that's a lot of fun. We won't see y'all Thursday, but we'll see you next week. I think we're going to talk about front end as a service next week. So we talked about that a couple episodes ago and decided we're going to do a full stream about front end as a service. And so that will probably be Tuesday coming up, and then we'll be back at it Thursday. So next week we'll be right back on the track. So anyway, Joe, any final thoughts before we close out of here?
That's it. Great episode. Excited to see everybody next week.
All right.
And see me on Wednesday. And don't forget.
That's right. Check us out on tomorrow on Automate All the Things on YouTube. Other than that, we'll catch y'all next week. Okay, bye.